Okay, we're going to we'll come back to these other items, but we're going to go to item 6, legislative session items, and have a discussion with Representative Mike Winder. We appreciate you being here today. And then after this, after the discussion, presentation, and that we have here, we'll go back to our original agenda. So Representative Winder.
Hello, thank you, board chair and board members. Good to be here with so many familiar faces, and I'm just sad you don't have a sack lunch breakfast for me like the other day. We're running fast and furious on this snowy day, but I'm sure they'll have toast at floor time at 11, so we'll be okay. And muffins, yes, those were good, weren't they? Well, good to be with all of you. As those of you who've been on this board for a bit recall, in my freshman session, this is my 4th, so we're talking 3 years ago, I worked with you and I worked with my colleagues on the Hill, and we passed a program for highly effective teachers, an incentive for highly effective teachers in high poverty schools. And what we did is we said, if you're in a high poverty school, which we defined as 70% or more free and reduced lunch, and if you're a teacher that's moving the needle and getting 70% median growth percentile that year, then you can receive a $5,000 incentive, or reward, if you will. And the local LEAs had to put in half. They had some skin in the game as well, and then the state board put in the other half. And we did it as a bit of an experiment to see what it could do to help attract and retain some of our rock star teachers in, frankly, some of our hardest schools. We had Roosevelt Elementary with 65% faculty turnover in 1 year. Granger Elementary with 55% faculty turnover. These are some tough schools where when the teachers get a little more tenure, they tend to go where the grass is a little greener sometimes. Not always, but sometimes. Well, it turned out to be a marvelous experiment. We've had now every district in the state, but I think 2 have now jumped on board this program. We're seeing it as a way to attract teachers and keep them there in those harder areas. I had a phone call just 2 days ago from a teacher that's received the award 3 of the 4 years, and she couldn't thank me enough, but she said, I'm 65. I was going to retire a few years ago. But your bill made me say, you know what? I am good at this. I'm going to hang in here and keep chipping away at it. And so we've got at least 4 more years out of a rock star teacher that's in a very tough school. In Kearns is where she is, but she's able to move the needle. There's those who critique this program that say, well, we don't like test scores, and can you judge it on something else? And I say, you know, I know it's imperfect, but we can't just give it to the tallest or the shortest or the prettiest. We have to have some metric. And we are doing it on growth, not on proficiency. So we're not just rewarding for zip codes. We're seeing people in rural areas where teachers can grow their class. We're seeing people in East Bench, West Bench, you know, and so it's been a remarkable program. One of the critiques of it, however, was, hey, we weren't able to, because it's based on the standardized scores year after year, we're not able to affect grades K through 3, where, as you know, those early grades are some of the significant areas. And so what this bill does, HB 107, we have a second substitute on it now, is it expands the program to K through 3 when those teachers are getting, well, let's scroll down, Angie, to look at how we worded that so I don't misquote my own bill. Let's see, the 85% piece. Okay, teachers, kindergartner grades 1, 2, or 3, and achieves at least 85% of students whose progress is assessed as typical or better at the end of the year assessment while teaching at any public school where a benchmark assessment is administered. So as you know, DIBELS, or what do we call it now? A cadence. Good, you all passed the test. A cadence. That's becoming more standardized, and so we're able to see when a teacher really can move the needle, we want to give them a nice reward for that. And so this does 2 things. One is it adds that so that our K through 3 teachers can participate, and 2, it bumps it from 5,000 to 7,000. Still has the LEAs paying half, but they're excited about this. The JLC the other day, which is, as you know, the Association of Superintendents as well as the school boards, came out unanimously in support of this. And I would be honored if this group would consider supporting this bill as they did 3 years ago. Just one last anecdote. Roosevelt Elementary that had 65% faculty turnover. They've now had, of the highly effective teachers in that school, they've had 6 of the 8 stay in that school and not leave. And they're getting their bonus year after year because they're able to move the needle. And they're mentoring other teachers saying, because the nice thing is it's not, hey, you get it and I don't. It's, hey, teacher next door, let me show you what I'm doing in my classroom to help move the needle so you too can get this nice bonus at the end of the year. And so we're seeing it work really well. We want to continue to expand it and we'd love your support. So with that, I'll open up to any questions.
Okay, questions from board members. Board member Cannon.
This sounds wonderful to me, and I salute you for doing it the first time and then for coming back and making it available to more teachers and more grade levels. My question is, does your bill carry a fiscal note to cover the increase in the number of teachers that would be eligible for this?
It does, $421,000 ongoing.
For 421
421.
ongoing. Thank you.
And now it's 250 ongoing. So it grows at quite a bit because the dollar amount's going up, but also the number of teachers. And the original bill said that it's only while funds are available, which ended up, the bonuses ended up being $4,800 one year and $4,900 one year, because we actually had a lot of teachers jump and stretch and reach for this. We had more than we thought, which is a terrible, wonderful problem to have, right? And we've had some of the LEAs say, we'll just chip in the difference, then get that full $5,000 they were hoping for. Okay. Great question.
Other questions, comments? Vice Chair Brittany Cummins.
So just for clarification on what you just said, you said it used to say while funds were available. Was there a change in this new bill?
I
Or
think
will
it's
it-
still while funds are available.
While funds
We went
available.
back and forth on that one.
Okay, so you're increasing the amount so that the funds are more.
Yeah, Angie's going to scroll down for me. Yeah, the prorate.
Okay.
Yeah, right.
Any other questions, comments? Board member Cindy Davis.
I think it would be interesting to take some data on changes and progress that we see with this bill compared to a turnaround bill, and just see what types of legislation are more effective. I, on a completely instinctive level, feel differently listening to aspects of this bill than the other, but it would be interesting to actually get some data and see how it goes.
Well, we would welcome that. I know, is it Doug in your office? Dave? No. Dale. Dale. You got snow in my ear. Yeah, and there's a D word. And Dale's in the house, and Dale reports. Can Dale come up? Because
You bet. We can invite
but
the
he's
sup-
been
I
digging
think-
into the data
I
on
think the
this.
superintendent might want to, did you want to weigh in on this?
I had a conversation about this very issue,
Yeah.
that your very question yesterday, Board Member Davis, and we were talking about, I won't name this school, but talking about retention, and it's a school that has been in turnaround and now in CSI, and this principal said, I was talking about, I always ask, what's working for you in turnaround and what isn't, and what works in CSI, et cetera. And this principal said, we have better retention, and then she named the things that they were doing. And she said these bonuses are helping when teachers get paid more because it's exhausting work, but it's about the culture that they create. So it was about leadership, which is one of our funding priorities. It's about the commitment of the teachers based on seeing results. So having the right kind of coaching and instructional coaching, because we know from retention data nationally and statewide survey data that we've done, number one is leadership support. Do they have the right support in the school? Do they have the resources that they need? And money's on there, but it's not the top two. But when you're in a school that is designated as one that has challenges, when the teachers see that they are, this is the reports that we're getting, when the teachers see that they're getting results from the students based on the resources, the efforts, the professional learning, the support of the leadership, and that they get rewarded, paid for their efforts as well, that they're more likely to stay and lean in and be committed. And the principal was verified that for me in her commentary. So it's not one or the other, but it's sort of a combination of all. And what I'm particularly interested in is what do we shave off and unburden to allow them to do all of those things with all the elements that work.
Board Member Davis, I know on Granite School District, they've reported on retention that 94% of the qualifying teachers have remained in the school. And these are schools that typically have 20 to 50% of the teachers leave each year. Then they're seeing 15% of those eligible actually move to a school where they can get that bonus. And so they're seeing it as a way to actually recruit as well in those tough areas. And they've said in Granite School District, their Title I schools have improved in proficiency by 2% each and every year this program has been in place. So Travis and Dale, I know have looked in. I don't know, Travis, do you have anything else?
Dale, you want to turn the mic on and then? Hang on a sec. There we
But
go.
the early data from the first few years is showing this is a program that works. Now, there's other great programs out there. I'm not saying this is the end-all, be-all, but I'm saying this is an important arrow in your quiver as you try to address some of these issues.
And if I wanted to, just wanted to add a couple things. The fiscal note is 481.
481, excuse me. What did I say, 421?
421, but it's very close, and it does expand the program, but it now targets all teachers, not just 4 through 12. The other point I'd make, Member Davis, is that not that it would be impossible to compare these things, but the school turnaround focuses on the school, and this focuses on individual teachers. And so since the units are different, it is kind of hard to compare apples to oranges, but that I'm not the expert to say if that's impossible or not, but that would be a complicating matter that way.
Okay, follow up. I'm trying to, there we go.
I can certainly appreciate that, but some of those statistics, I mean, 94%, what was the turnaround or attrition rate of teachers prior to this, or that are in, turnaround schools that are not participating or whatever? Some of those, we could look at some aspects perhaps, but I see the distinction.
Okay. There's quite a few, Board Member Cannon.
We just are wondering, so the fiscal note for this bill is 481,000. Does that, is that in addition to what it was before? Is this
Yes.
new money? So what would the total be adding this new money on?
481 plus what, 250?
It would be what?
481 plus 250.
Which is 731.
Just under 750, and then, yeah, the total cost for both LEAs and the state is just under $1.5 million.
Okay, so I understand. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Board Member Mike Haynes.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Representative Winder, for being here and talking more about this. I did read through some of this, HB 107, and I had a couple questions. I love the idea that we're looking for new ways to recruit or retain and recruit teachers into these high-poverty areas. Does this bill, I couldn't see anywhere where it specifies any incentive or specificity on recruiting, mostly retaining, but is there a recruiting piece in that? And then how long is this incentive supposed to go on based on the money that's allocated for this retention tool? And is there criteria that needs to be met every year for that individual?
Well, great question. Once they get the bonus, it's on a year-by-year basis, so they can get it multiple years. I mentioned the teacher that called me the other day received it 3 out of 4 years. Granite, in their data, shows that 27% of the teachers have received it multiple times. So some years you get it, some years you don't. That's why we want to view this as a reward and not necessarily as part of their compensation package. Then the other part of your question was for the ongoing money. Because it is out of the ongoing pool, there's not a sunset on it or plan to end the program unless we take legislative action to jump back in and tweak it this way or that in the future.
And what about recruiting?
Oh, excuse me. And on recruiting, yes, we are seeing recruitment from it. I mentioned the Granite example. And one of the reasons why it is a recruiting tool is because if you're a teacher that has a high MGP and then you qualify in that area, but then you move to a high poverty school, then it checks that next box, and you are eligible for it.
Thank you.
And these are really good questions, but back when this was all part of the discussion when your bill was first passed too, is it
Yep.
was designed for one particular purpose, and it's meeting that purpose, and that's why the JLC and others are way behind it. It's like, okay, let's keep this
Right.
alive, so. Okay, Board Member Jennifer Gravitt.
Thank you, Representative Winter. I appreciate extending it to grades 1 through 3, but help me understand, it still would only apply to teachers who teach English, math, and science, correct? In the secondary.
Correct. I think of this as this experiment. I still call it an experiment. 3 years in is relatively new. Let's keep watching it and looking for other ways to expand it. As you know, up on the Hill, we win in increments. And we also learn each year that we have a program like this. And so I am not adverse at all to expanding it. In a perfect world, it'd apply to all teachers of all grades that have a shot at this. But it does take some time sometimes to see what's working and figure out what's the best metric to measure by.
Yeah.
So teachers who are teaching those things in high school, I'd say, hey, we haven't forgotten you. You're just not part of this year. This year's expansion is K-3.
That makes me feel better, because that's my main concern is, in general, when we split teachers up, because it's a team in a
Right.
school, and as an English teacher, I'm very much get blessed when I have an art teacher who uses literacy
Yep.
strategies, and I see sometimes when you divide teachers, it does affect a whole system in a school a little bit, and that's not good for kids. So that would be my only concern is like, for example, with the math bonus that math teachers get, we have math teachers who don't want to teach English now, even though they're certified for both, because they want the money. So it starts splitting things, and that's my main concern, although I appreciate anything to get more money into the hands of teachers. I hate
As a
to-
graduate of history, I get it.
Yeah,
So
I
we
know,
gotta get-
yeah.
help our
And that's
history
exactly
teachers
right.
and other- yeah.
So that would just be my concern, but
We'll
thank you
get
for
there, but
coming.
this year's
Okay.
expansion is the K-3.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. I'm not seeing any other questions or comments. Representative, thank you for being here. We're going to knock out some other agenda items, and then this will come up again. Angie will make sure it comes up in our. when we talk
Excellent.
our
I'd love to have your
legislative
support. We're hoping to go before House committee next week, and I'm off to 11 o'clock floor time. Thank you, everyone.
session. We know
Be
you're
safe
very
out
busy
there.
on the Hill. Hey, thank you.